Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to pick some of my favorite albums from the 80s, and I'm going to start off with 1980. Music was fantastic. It was a lot of fun back then. There was no streaming or downloading. You had to go to a record store and purchase it yourself. You had to go down there. And I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of nice people. They used to tell me what to buy sometimes, or keep an ear to this band. They're going to be breaking out soon. So thinking about 1980, there's one album I think that's gonna stand out for almost any rock fan in the world, and it's for numerous reasons. And I'm gonna pick probably the best album, or maybe one of the greatest albums of 1980 for sure, is AC/DC's Back in Black. Sold 50 million units worldwide before streaming. 50 million units around the world. Just one album. Some artists don't sell that in their entire career, and AC/DC have done it with this album. It's a special album in a sense that they could have ended their career a year ago when their original lead singer, Bon Scott, died. He drank himself to death, and the band continued. They went like 2 months later. They had Brian Johnson take over the reins. They're in the studio with Mutt Lange, who's an incredible producer. He's on the Def Leppard albums, Pyromania, Hysteria, Foreigner 4, Brian Adams, Waking Up the Neighbors. He brought Shania Twain into the forefront when he produced her albums. He has got a magic touch. He knows how to make a band sound phenomenal, and this is no exception. Back in Black is like a greatest hits package all on its own. Every song is phenomenal, and most people will know Hell's Bells, Shoot the Thrill, Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long, and Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. But there's other songs on here that are fantastic too. I thoroughly enjoy Give a Dog a Bone. I think it's a great song. But the underrated track on here is Let Me Put My Love Into You. It's kind of like a little bluesy number. It's the closest thing they're gonna get to kind of like semi-traditional love song. It's not really a ballad, but they talk about love. Let me put my love on the line for you. It's not what you usually hear AC/DC do, and it's not really played. But going back to this album, playing this is an underrated track. I think I'm gonna put it down below. You listen to it. You let me know what you think. Like I said, 50 million units. Their original lead singer dies. They go back in the studio. Mutt Lange kind of pushes them to say, you're going to create, you're going to evolve and push it so it still sounds like AC/DC, but you're going to move past Highway to Hell and go into Back in Black, bringing still that AC/DC sound. I mean, Brian Johnson kind of sounds a little bit like Bon Scott on this album. He's got the same, he can mimic the growl. He's got that down. But this, it starts off with Hell's Bells, and there's those bells like a funeral, and the album is black. But it's no way. I thought it was symbolizing the passing of the guard, Bon Scott to Brian Johnson. There's a death and rebirth, and they're restarting, and I took it as that. But is it really a tribute album to Scott? Not really, except in perhaps in the subject matter. Rock and roll, sex, drinking. It's what AC/DC is known for. Their power chords. A lot of people say their songs sound the same. Kinda. But if you listen to that song again, Let Me Put My Love Into You, you might hear something there's a little bit of a bluesy rhythm on there, which is really interesting. So for a band that their career could have stopped and no one would have hold it against them, they came out with their most cohesive album, to date, with this one. And there's hit after hit, and all the songs are good. This is one of those albums. If you're gonna have the echelon of rock albums, this has got to go up there for sure. So for 1980, my first pick for my favorite album in my lifetime that year in my life has to be AC/DC. And again, not because AC/DC, it's the first letter of the alphabet, A is the first letter of the alphabet. I think just because of the fact these guys could have ended right there, They moved forward and they created their biggest selling album of their career. And I think that speaks volumes of their perseverance and their talent. So 1980, one of my favorites, or the favorite album, was probably going to be AC/DC Back in Black. You let me know. Do you like this album? Besides the staples that we hear on the radio, you like any of their songs? You got any deep cuts on there that you'd like to share with us? We'd love to hear from you. This is Steven with one of my favorite, all time favorite albums, not only from 1980, but of my lifetime. I think this is up there. You let me know what you think. Share your thoughts with us. We'd love to hear from you. This is Steven from the Aroundtable with AC/DC Back in Black.